The great lie of Games Workshop and of their ball washers is that they make the kit, they make it so you can only build what comes in the kit because they think that makes the game more accessible. And they think that makes it easier for players to get to grips with the game. But that is a lie. Lies. Deceptions. Every day, more lies. You see, I see a lot of new people come into this hobby. Anyone who's watched any of my streams will be able to tell you one of the more common things that happens is someone comes into these streams and says, "Hey Mordian, I've just decided to get into the guard. Do you have any advice? Hey Mordian, I've just built my first guard models. What do you think?" Very common. Even in this 40k drought that we are experiencing, still we see that happening. So I see a lot of new people come into this hobby. And do you know what, in my experience, one of the most common things that new players do when they get their hands on the models? They kit bash them. Think about it this way. When you were getting into 40k for the first time, no matter when this was, and you wanted a squad leader for one of your units, what was one of the first things that you did to come up with a cool custom squad leader? You gave him 2 pistols. We've all seen the classic double bolt pistol tactical marine at some point in our lives. Maybe it's a little bit different now, but you know there'll be a better example for that. But the first thing that new players do is they build the models and they start trying to kit bash them. They start trying to build them with different and cool, funky things, funky designs. That is, that's what a lot of people do, and it's actually kind of heartbreaking. The number one thing that one of the conversations that I've had to have more times than I like, as someone who sees a lot of new people coming into this hobby, is I have to tell people that they built their models wrong. And it's awful and it's awkward and I hate it. But I remember really distinctly we had this guy come in. It was this young gentleman came into the stream, and he said, "Hey Mordian, I built some guard models. I've come up with a really cool squad for my for a really cool squad." And he had built a Cadian squad, and the Cadian squad had it was something silly like 7 flamethrowers in it. Now this is an extreme example, but he was like, "Oh yeah, I built all these flamers because flamers are really cool." And he had built many different options and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I want to be able to run flamer squad." No, there was 4 flamers. That was it. I want to run flamer squad, and it's gonna be really cool to run this in game. And so this guy, obviously, the first thing he had done is kit bash different kits together because he wanted a squad that had 4 flamers in it. And I had to basically tell this guy, "Yeah, you can't do that." Do you know how much of an asshole that makes me look? It's not my fucking fault, but I have to gently tell this guy, "Yeah, well, you can't take 4 special weapons in a squad, unfortunately." And I can't. And the thing is, in the past, there was options where I could be you could run these as a platoon command squad, and they can take 4 of the same special weapon, and that would and that would have got him really excited, be "Yeah, fuck yeah, an officer leading 4 flamers, that's cool." Or I could be "Hey, you can take special weapons squads, they can take 3 flamers in each." But I had to basically be "Yeah, the only real option you've got is if you want to run them as Catachans." And he went, "But I don't play Catachans, I play Cadians. I really like the Cadian Bloodbucks." And I went, oh, sorry, man. Like, I had to go through the whole, like, well, you could use what's like counts as, and you could say they're like Cadian assault teams. And he was, but it's not good for new players, because what ends up actually happening is new players come into the game. They don't realize how strict the rules are around what you can take in units. They figure they'll just build what they want and they'll figure it out in the end. And then what actually happens is they end up building a bunch of stuff and they end up with a bunch of models they can't use. And then they have to face it, which is very disappointing, because people start telling them that's wrong. You can't do that. That's wrong. And so that's very discouraging for a new player. And also, they then have to make a difficult decision of, okay, well, I've made a mistake. Do I spend the money to correct the mistake, or do I just basically give up at this point? Yeah. And I think for a lot of them, they do end up spending the money, but now they're not spending money on stuff because they want to buy that shit. They're spending money on stuff because they feel the obligation to correct their mistake, which is sad. So that's one thing. So that's the first missile to bust that myth. Which is, we've made it so it's easier for new players. The reality situation is that sounds really logical in a board. We've talked about this before. Something can sound logical in a meeting, but it doesn't actually make sense when you get into real life. Now, let's make something clear here. There were always some issues with new players building models which technically had incorrect loadouts, right? Of course there was. But 40k has become so much more prescribed, so much this takes this takes this. You've got almost no choices. This is just what it gets. That it's actually more of a problem because you've got less ways of pivoting, less ways of improvising, adapting, overcoming. Guard is one of the examples where you probably can do it a little bit easier. Like I said, you could take those guys as Catachans, for example. But there's a lot of factions where you just can't. You just can't. Like if you build it wrong, it's just a wasted model, and you've got to start snapping it apart or trying to buy more models to correct the mistake. So when you had units which were a single datasheet with loads of options, then what you layered onto it is how you brought the flavor. That had made for much more flexibility. Now, yes, it's very predetermined. It's very, very predetermined now. Now, I've got another great myth. Not another great myth, another way of busting this myth. Busting. I'm busting rifts. We make it so it's easier for players to get acquainted with the game. Here's the thing. Wargaming, even though it is much more mainstream now than it ever has been, it's still fundamentally a really niche hobby. Whilst I would say that the IP of Warhammer 40k has gone mainstream, but the game of Warhammer 40k is still really niche. The game of 40k and wargaming in general is going to appeal to a very specific kind of person. Autists. Sorry, the joke was too easy to make. But on a serious note, it's going to appeal to a specific kind of person. And that person is going to be someone who, when they get excited about something, is going to hyper focus on it and is going to fucking no-life it. This is why 10th edition was everyone no-lifed it, and drop off. because people, the mindset of the wargamer is that, we absolutely know life because we're trying to figure out all the different options. We're deep diving things. We're working out all the different things, all the different loadouts. Look at the attitude of this community at the beginning of 10th edition, and myself included. We were like, okay, let's try all infantry. Let's try all tanks. Let's try all mechanized. Let's try 3 death strikes. Let's try like triple super heavy. Let's try all auto cannons. We basically try, apart from Age of Defense line spam and all cavalry, we've basically tried everything, right? And then the moment that there were no more options, it was like, oh yeah, I'm bored now. So the thing is, by making the game more shallow, by making the game simplified, by making the game, easier for people to pick up and learn. I mean, making a game easy to access is great. That really, really good. But making that because you've just made it really shallow, not because you've actually made a good game. I mean, Old World and especially Bolt Action and K47 are examples of masters of game design because you can pick them up in one game. But then you can spend forever deep diving different combos and trying different things out. But the point is that all you're doing by making the game really shallow is making it less appealing to the kind of people that your product is aimed at. It's that simple. Like, this is why Warhammer 40k has, over the years, gone from being the only game that people play and everything else outside the GW bubble basically starved for oxygen to now Warhammer 40k, for a lot of people, is one game amongst many. And even those people who still main 40k are ever increasingly looking to other game systems, because these people when they what do you mean, you people? These people, when they solve something, they move on to the next thing to hyper focus on. And then when they've done that, then that's it. We like to. I've said this again and again and again. Wargamers have no issue spending money. Look at Games Workshop; they make a lot of money off us. Wargamers have no issue spending money. Wargamers have no issue no-lifing things. Wargamers have no issue making the wargame of their choice their entire personality. They have no issue with that whatsoever. And so all you're doing by making the game more accessible, making the game shallower, it's actually in the long run making it the product that people don't want to buy. Which sounds crazy. But this is my personal experience, and I could be very wrong. This is my opinion, and I could be very wrong. But my personal perspective is, in previous editions gone by, I didn't give any other games a look in. Not one, not any. I didn't give any other games a look in. And now, because I don't get everything that I want from 40k, because 40k is too easy for me to figure out, always take Melted Gun Plasma Gun, now I go and find new puzzles. And 40k used to be an infinite puzzle. And now it's... yeah. Very easy to figure out. Yeah. So there you go. That's my great myth busting. I'm busting myths. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, RJ, Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.